It's not the fastest, it's not the sleekest. But when the A-10 Warthog takes to the skies, enemies know one thing: destruction is coming. Known as the tank killer, this rugged beast has dominated battlefields for decades with its unmatched firepower and legendary toughness. Yet as modern jets like the F-35 Lightning II promise speed, stealth, and cutting-edge technology, one question remains. Can this flying tank still hold its ground in a world of advanced warfare? Join us as we uncover the story of the A-10, its game-changing upgrades, and why this unstoppable war machine may still have plenty of fight left. A need for the unstoppable beast. The jungle in Vietnam was alive, dense, unrelenting, and merciless. Beneath the choking canopy of green, soldiers crawled through mud and fire, their faces etched with exhaustion and fear. Bullets hissed through the trees like venomous snakes, while enemy anti-aircraft guns spat flames into the skies, daring anything to fly above them. And then it came, the unmistakable hum of the Douglas A-1 Sky Raider. It wasn't sleek, it wasn't fast, but when the A-1 dove from the heavens, the earth trembled. Its propellers tore through the air with a growl, carrying weapons that far outweighed the machine itself. It moved like a lumbering giant, slow but precise, dropping bombs so close to the troops that they could feel the heat of the explosions on their skin. To the soldiers pinned below, the Sky Raider was more than a plane. It was salvation. It turned moments of despair into hope, carving open pathways to survival when everything seemed lost. But even the bravest beasts have limits. The Sky Raider was a relic of a bygone era. Its slow speed made it an easy target, and the jungle bristled with enemy guns, waiting to tear it apart. Smoke would rise from wreckage where these machines once soared, and pilots who once believed they were invincible vanished into the darkness of war. On the ground, commanders knew this couldn't continue. A machine that couldn't survive the skies was no match for modern warfare, and every day, the enemy grew bolder. Beyond the jungles of Vietnam, a new shadow loomed: Soviet tanks. They rolled like steel juggernauts across the plains of Eastern Europe, their treads grinding dirt into dust, their turrets sweeping the horizon with cold menace. The US military watched, their hearts pounding. These were no ordinary machines. The Soviets had built an army of unstoppable armor, a tide of steel that would overwhelm battlefields in mere hours. If war came, America needed a weapon that could not just fight tanks but hunt them. The need was urgent. The skies demanded a new predator, a war machine that could plunge into combat, shrug off damage, and deliver firepower so devastating it would rip through the heart of enemy forces. It had to be slow enough to fly low and hit hard, yet strong enough to survive a direct assault. The vision was clear: build a flying tank killer, a beast that could rain destruction from above and emerge unscathed from the fires of war. In 1966, General John P. McConnell, the Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force, issued a call to arms. The AX program was born, a challenge to the greatest engineers of the time. The blueprint they sought wasn't for just any fighter jet, it was for something unbreakable. The aircraft had to endure hits that would bring others crashing down. It had to fly with one engine gone, its fuselage shredded, its systems failing, but its mission complete. The engineers took notes from the Douglas A-1 Sky Raider, respecting its rugged legacy. The Sky Raider had proven that slow flight allowed unmatched precision. Soldiers had watched bombs fall mere yards away from their positions without harm. Pilots had braved rescue missions, shielding downed allies with weapons that turned the jungle into ash. Yet what they now sought was more than an evolution. It was a revolution. This new aircraft would need armor strong enough to deflect bullets and shrapnel, firepower massive enough to tear through the heaviest tanks, engines tough enough to keep running after taking damage, endurance unmatched, staying in the fight longer than anything before. It would be a machine designed for war's harshest realities, where survival was measured not in seconds, but in sheer willpower and design. It would dive into firestorms and emerge victorious, a silent guardian for those on the ground who looked to the skies for hope. From this desperate need, from lessons learned in blood and steel, the foundation for a legend was laid. The A-10 Thunderbolt II, a machine unlike anything the world had seen, was about to be born. The battlefield would never be the same again. Birth of the A-10 Warthog. Out of the fire and fury of war, the need for a revolutionary aircraft became undeniable. The US military couldn't afford to wait. Soviet tanks loomed like an unstoppable wave, their iron giants ready to swallow entire armies. The skies, once the realm of swift and elegant fighters, now demanded something different, a beast built for one purpose: to dominate the battlefield and protect the ground troops below. The year was 1970, and the answer to this challenge was the AX program, a competition that summoned the greatest minds in aviation. Engineers and manufacturers, driven by patriotism and ambition, set to work designing a machine that would rewrite the rules of warfare. Two titans emerged, the Northrop YA-9A and the Fairchild Republic YA-10A. In the hangars of Fairchild Republic, an idea took shape. Not a sleek fighter jet, but a monstrous machine designed like a flying tank. It wasn't beautiful, it wasn't fast, but it was powerful. Every line, bolt, and plate built with purpose. Engineers called it the YA-10A, but the soldiers who would come to depend on it would give it a much more fitting name: the Warthog. From the moment it took flight, the Warthog defied expectations. It roared over test ranges, its engines growling like predators. The massive GAU-8 Avenger cannon, the heart of the Warthog, was unlike any weapon seen before. 7 barrels, 30 millimeters in caliber, firing 65 rounds per second. When it unleashed its fury, it sounded less like a gun and more like a chainsaw ripping through steel. Its bullets, each the size of a Coke bottle, could shred through tank armor from over a mile away. In the early tests, the YA-10A outperformed its competitor, the YA-9A, with flying colors. It didn't need pristine runways. It could take off from short, damaged airstrips and even dirt roads. It was rugged, dependable, and deadly, a machine built for frontline combat, where chaos and destruction reigned. When the final decision came, Fairchild's Warthog was chosen. The Air Force saw its potential, but it was the troops on the ground who would come to understand its true value. Here was an aircraft designed to fly low and slow, sweeping over battlefields like a guardian angel. Its unique design allowed it to loiter over danger zones for hours, unleashing firepower with terrifying precision, all while shrugging off enemy attacks. Thus, the A-10 Thunderbolt II was born, a flying fortress with the soul of a predator and the heart of a savior. Its arrival marked the dawn of a new era, where tanks were no longer invincible and troops could trust that the skies above were watching over them. Upgrades that make it super. The A-10 Warthog was already a beast, rugged, unbreakable, and relentless. It could tear through tanks with its monstrous cannon and shrug off damage that would down any other aircraft. But as the world changed and enemies grew more advanced, the Warthog couldn't just stay the same. It needed to evolve, to rise again as something even deadlier. And so the Warthog was reborn, not as something new, but as a super Warthog, strengthened with upgrades that turned it into a predator, unlike anything the battlefield had ever seen. The first changes began in its cockpit, the heart of its operation. The pilots who once relied on old gauges and manual dials now found themselves surrounded by glowing screens and state-of-the-art technology. The walls of the cockpit lit up with live feeds of enemy positions and targeting data. Everything a pilot needed was right there at their fingertips, faster and sharper than ever before. It was no longer about just flying and fighting. Now the Warthog could think, predict, and strike with a precision that defied its hulking frame. On the pilot's head sat something new, a helmet like no other. With this advanced tracker, pilots no longer needed to waste precious seconds lining up their targets. Instead, wherever they turned their head, the system followed their gaze, locking onto enemies as if by instinct. A quick movement, a push of a button, and the target would disappear in smoke and flame. The Warthog had become not just a tank hunter, but a skybound sniper, deadly and unforgiving. But the Warthog's true genius lay in its resilience. It had always been tough, but now it was tougher. Its wings were rebuilt, reinforced, and ready to carry the beast far into the future. Engineers surrounded the fuel tanks with special foam to stop leaks, even when they were punctured by enemy fire. Damage that would cripple other planes was barely a scratch to the Warthog. Pilots knew that no matter what happened, this machine would fight to keep them alive. If one engine failed, the other would carry them home. If the hydraulics went down, the backup system would take over. Even with parts of its wings missing and its armor scarred, the Warthog would keep flying, unshakable and unstoppable. And when it struck with a force that shattered the earth. The legendary GAU-8 Avenger cannon still sat at the heart of the Warthog, a thunderous reminder of its raw power. But now it was joined by an arsenal of advanced weapons that could handle any threat. Tanks, convoys, fortified bunkers. Nothing was safe, and when the Warthog unleashed everything it carried, the ground below turned into a storm of fire and smoke, leaving nothing but silence in its wake. Resilience like no other aircraft. The A-10 Warthog is the definition of unbreakable. Wrapped in 200 pounds of titanium armor, its cockpit, nicknamed the bathtub, protects pilots from direct hits by 23mm rounds and shrapnel. Even with a wing torn off, engines damaged, or hydraulics failing, the Warthog keeps flying, thanks to its manual backup systems and rugged design. Its high-mounted engines shield it from debris, and fuel tanks encased in polyurethane foam ensure it can fly even after taking hits that would bring any other aircraft crashing down. What makes the Warthog truly legendary is its ability to survive the unsurvivable. In one iconic case, Captain Kim Campbell flew her crippled Warthog back to safety after it was shredded by enemy fire. Its design allows quick battlefield repairs, often with minimal tools, letting it take off from dirt runways while others wait in hangars. For ground troops, seeing the A-10 in the skies means salvation. The Warthog doesn't just endure battles, it dominates them, a flying tank that refuses to die. The future, A-10 versus F-35. The battlefield of tomorrow is rapidly changing. Stealth, speed, and advanced technology dominate military discussions, and at the center of this debate lies a critical question. Can the A-10 Warthog still compete, or is it time for the F-35 Lightning II to take its place? The F-35, sleek and futuristic, is built for speed and stealth, slipping through radar and delivering precision strikes. It represents the pinnacle of modern aviation technology. But where the F-35 is sophisticated, the A-10 is raw, dependable power. The Warthog's ability to fly low and slow while unleashing devastating firepower makes it unmatched for close air support, a role that no other aircraft can fill. Troops on the ground don't care about stealth. They need a machine that can hover above the battlefield for hours, tear through enemy armor, and survive intense fire. Critics argue that the Warthog's slower speed and aging frame make it vulnerable in modern airspace. Yet upgrades like precision weapons, advanced avionics, and night combat capabilities have extended its relevance. The A-10 remains cost-effective, with proven performance in real wars, unlike the expensive F-35, which still faces challenges. For now, the Warthog refuses to back down. Its unmatched durability, firepower, and ability to save lives on the battlefield keep it flying strong. While the F-35 may be the future, the A-10 remains irreplaceable, a machine that has earned its place in the skies and in the hearts of those it protects. The A-10 Warthog is more than just an aircraft. It's a symbol of resilience, firepower, and unmatched loyalty to those on the ground. While the debate over its future continues, one thing is clear. This flying tank has earned its place in history and refuses to be forgotten. What do you think? Does the Warthog still belong on the modern battlefield? Or is it time for the F-35 to take its place? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more incredible stories of military power. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.